Hi everyone, I'm Katie. Welcome to PD in Pieces. I'm a structured literacy dyslexia specialist, and today for our session on PD in Pieces, we're going to be talking about homophones, homographs, and homonyms. And these are a common source of confusion for students and teachers alike. These terms are often mixed up, so we're going to clarify each one, give examples, and then talk about how we can help our students to understand them. Let's get to it. First, let's talk about homophones. By definition, these are words that may or may not be spelled alike, but are pronounced the same. So, homo means same, phone means sound. We can easily remember this definition by thinking same sounds, words that sound exactly alike. These are words of different origins, and these words have different meanings. So, let's look at some examples. Okay, we have the word two, and two. These are three separate words with three separate meanings. But unless you have context or unless you see the spellings, you can't differentiate between the different words because they sound the same. That's why they are called homophones. Another example would be flour and flour, like the flour you cook with and the flour you can smell. Meat and meat. Another one is scale and scale. Now, these words sound alike, they're also spelled alike, right? But they have different meanings. One scale is the scale like on a fish, and the other scale is a measurement scale. So just remember homophones, same sound. Now, these often cause spelling errors when kids are writing, right? So they're trickiest for spelling. Since they sound identical, kids often will spell the wrong one and then maybe they don't understand the meaning. So it's important that we explicitly teach homophones, and we'll talk later about some teaching tips for this. You want to make sure that you're teaching homophones explicitly. And I like to teach homophones in pairs or sets with lots of visuals and lots of usage and practice, right? So I have this homophone booklet, and what it does is it has the word with the correct spelling, a meaning where the kids are going to write the meaning in a kid-friendly definition, and then a picture to represent the meaning. And this helps for kids to not only know what the word means, but to connect it with a visual. And then because we're creating a book, this is a homophone book, as I introduce and teach each new set of homophones, right, we're adding to the book. So kids can use this to review, and they can almost use it as a little dictionary too, right? When they go to spell a word and they're not sure, oh, what C do I use? Do I use S-E-E or S-E-A? They can go back in their homophone book and identify the correct spelling. And again, just reinforce the spelling of the specific word. So that's just one example that you can use to help your kids learn homophones. So now let's look at homographs. Think about what that word literally means. Homo means same, graph means writing, so it's the same writing. The definition, these are words that are spelled the same, but they have different meanings and may have different pronunciations. So here are some examples. Think about this. Tear, like from crying, and tear, which means to rip, right? These are words that are spelled exactly the same, but have different meanings and different pronunciations. We have lead, which means to guide, or lead, like a metal. Then we also have words like can, like a metal container, and can, which means able to, right? So these are pronounced the same, but they definitely have different meanings. So this can definitely cause confusion in oral reading. And what we can do is we can support our students by previewing text and practicing words in context, also practicing set for variability, where if we come to a word and we are reading tear because we've noticed that E-A vowel team, well, I can try to swap that sound. And instead of tear, it can be tear, right? Where we have that advanced R controlled sound. So you want to highlight these in fluency practice, discuss the multiple meanings. You can even use our homophone worksheet, and you can include homographs as well, right? It's just important to know that even though these words are spelled the same, they're going to have different meanings, and sometimes they're going to have different pronunciations. That's what a homograph is. Now we've gotten to homonyms. Okay, by definition, these are words that sound the same but are spelled differently. And in all honesty, I used to think that this definition meant homophones. But now I've learned. And I want to tell you that it is a little bit tricky because different sources define homonyms in different ways. I'm using the definition from Reading Rockets, which is a well respected online resource. So that's where I'm getting this definition from. Some people use the term homonym to mean any word that either sounds the same or is spelled the same, and others more narrowly define it. So we're going to use this definition. They're words that sound the same but are spelled differently. So some examples would be sense and sense, night and night, B and B. These words sound exactly the same, but they have different spellings and different meanings. Now, what's most important here is giving students clear examples, using consistent language in your instruction. It's probably not essential that you teach your kids this term of homonyms. And again, you can use our homophone book in order to present these, because oftentimes homophones are considered homonyms. They're kind of a more specific category. But this is certainly very important that kids understand that there are words that sound exactly the same but can be spelled differently. As a teacher, I think it is important that we note this, that there are specific differences between homophones, homographs, and homonyms. But for students, they just need to know specifically the meanings and differences between spelling and understanding the differences in these words. So just in conclusion, right? Homophones, homonyms, homographs, they can be kind of confusing for both teachers and students, but with explicit teaching and practice, students are going to be able to master them. So you need to make sure as a teacher that you are providing explicit teaching instruction, and it has to be part of your spelling instruction. So I usually like to introduce a few homophone sets each week, and then keep track of those in our homophone books. You want to make sure that you're connecting the spelling of the words with the meaning. So use visuals, use context clues, and use real life examples and have kids practice with them, right? You want to also provide students very many opportunities to practice and then review, which again is why I really like the homophone book, because students can keep track of their homophone sets. They can use it for review. They can go back to it and reference it as needed. And it's just an all around fun activity that kids actually enjoy. So just remember that a few minutes of practice can really make a big difference in reading and in spelling. So I hope you learned a lot. Thank you for joining me, and come back soon.